A lot of people ask me, hey, what do you use for your podcast? And when I tell them, I pretty much say I use Anchor. So, Anchor is like the best thing that has happened to my podcast. Pretty much, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. So, pretty much it's free. There are creation tools that Anchor has that allows you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer on the go. So say you record an episode and you're like, oh snap, I forgot to edit out that part. You can just go right to your phone or your computer, bam, 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 boom, you're done. Don't have to worry about anything. Don't have to hire a expensive producer or editor or anything like that. You can do it all right from your phone. The cool thing too is Anchor also will distribute your podcast for you. So pretty much they say, hey, give me your podcast and I'll do everything else for you. So they'll put it on Spotify, they'll put it on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever podcasts are heard. So pretty much it like I said, it takes the weight off of you and distributes it yourself for you. The cool thing too is you can also make money from Anchor as well. Anchor will be your first sponsor, and they will also provide sponsors later on in the future once you start getting a build up and fan base and all that. They will pay you to do ads like this to put in your episodes so people can hear it, so people can get to know more about Anchor, which you are listening to now. So pretty much, like I said, you can make money from Anchor with no minimal listenership. So you don't have to, got to get a certain amount of people to listen so you can start getting paid. No, you get paid right from the first listen of your podcast. So pretty much it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And the cool thing too is that Anchor has an app as well. And you can download it, and it makes it way easier than using it from your computer. So like I said, you can use it on the go. Download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. I promise you, it's the best thing you'll do for your podcast. What's up, guys? This is Inside the North Side coming to you from the Heights area. So I am your host with the most from the Third Coast, Ulysses. I am here with a special guest, Mr. Evan Camp of Eureka Brewery.
What's up, guys?
This is awesome. So pretty much, thank you for being on the show. I appreciate you and Eureka Brewery replying back to my email and was like, agreed to do this. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, man, we're stoked to be a part of the show.
So, Mr. Evan, tell me what you do here at Eureka Brewery.
Oh yeah, man, that's a big question. We have all of us wear pretty a lot of hats around here. Currently, my title is Party Boy, or
really?
The events manager here at Eureka Heights. They gave me that name so I can't find another job after this one, because nobody's going to hire me under title Party Boy. But it fits perfectly here. I don't plan on going anywhere. Inside that, I do PR, community engagement. I've worked on our canning line through most of the summer in the pandemic because events weren't a thing. And so there's kind of a plethora of things that I do around here. But like I said, most of us all have many different hats.
Well, that's pretty extensive. I like that you said that your title is Party Boy. I can imagine going to an interview. So what was your title at your last job? It was Party Boy.
Yeah, exactly how I say it.
Party Boy. But that's pretty cool. So, I mean, I would like my job. I'm just a driver, but I would love the title to be like Party Driver or something like that.
Yeah, man. No, I think that can be arranged.
Okay.
I would. I will have to say though, even though I feel like at the very beginning, I was like, my title's gonna ruin me forever. But then at the same time, everybody's like, nobody has that title. And every time I look at any business card, I never like look at it in depth, but then I see yours is Party Boy and I get more intrigued. So I get a lot of emails, more so just because of my title alone. And I'm not going to lie, it translates into sales sometimes and it works out.
That's always good though.
But we, to kind of highlight a little bit more on that, we also don't really take ourselves too seriously outside of the beer. So, we definitely take our beer seriously. We put a lot of thought, a lot of effort into it, make sure the public likes it. But everything else around here, we're just kind of jokey, good times. So hence all of our titles. I mean, our graphic design manager, her title is Chief Doodler. so again, I don't know if she's going to find another job after this, but we'll see.
Maybe. So, Evan, how long have you been with Eureka Brewery?
I've been with Eureka now just over 3 years. The company itself has been here for 5, so I feel like I've been here for a good portion of its upbringing. The first 2 years were very small scale. So we were self-distributing, self-marketing, basically doing everything out of the tap room. And now we are the 3rd best-selling craft beer in Houston after 5 years in the game. So it's pretty big achievement, but I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the beer that we make here is super approachable, super easy to drink, and kind of timeless. It's not going to go anywhere. It's not a style that's going to lose popularity. A cream ale is a cream ale, an IPA is an IPA. As long as you make them good, people are going to keep drinking them.
So pretty much you've been here kind of like with the beginning, you can say.
Yeah, pretty much, like I said, in its infancy stage, for sure. Then now I'm in its terrible toddler phase, and it's terrible sometimes, but in a good way. Like, it's just crazy busy. And so the experience I had my first year here was so laxed, Got this really cool vibe, get off work at like 3 o'clock, have some beers, play some pinball, and feel like you accomplished a day. Now I'm here till 10 o'clock some nights doing things and always working. And that's a part of becoming a brewery that's getting bigger over time. We're still very much in-house everything. We do have a distributor, but everything else we pretty much do on our own. So it kind of sets us apart from other breweries. It makes us work a lot harder to achieve some of the goals that some of these bigger breweries are accomplishing with much larger staff, much larger infrastructure. And we're just trying to compete and stay relevant here in the community.
So have you been at this location since the beginning, pretty much?
Yeah, the brewery itself has not changed locations since we began. It has evolved, but it hasn't changed locations. We've built out quite a bit in here since the beginning. I mean, right up into our tap wall, we've started out with 6 taps. Now we have 18. So, all these things are evolving, and eventually we'll probably outgrow our space. And we kind of are planning ahead of that, too, and just making sure that we have options in play ready to go whenever we need to expand, including possibly in more to this building across our next door to us, which is contracted by another food company. So if they ever decide they want to leave, I could see us expanding into that space a little bit further, making our brewery a little bit bigger, but time will tell.
Okay, so you said you started off with 6 taps, right? Correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
So what was the first tap that Eureka, I guess the first beer they ever created?
First beer ever created was Buckle Bunny.
Oh, which we are drinking right now. Oh, cheers.
It is also our flagship beer. This is our best-selling beer. Right behind that is Mini Boss, which was an early beer as well. Space Train, Muy Caliente, Mostly Harmless. All those were kind of our core original beers. And again, like I said, Buckle Bunny and Mini Boss have kind of taken over as our flagship beers. They make up almost 50% of our total beer sales across all of our brands.
Well, I'm part of that percentage because I do enjoy a good Buckle Bunny after a long day when it's hot outside and I just I need a beer. I'm like, I'm just going to get a Buckle Bunny.
You must have been reading our marketing because that's exactly how we describe this beer.
Really? No, I have not been reading.
After a long, hot day, we usually add mowing the lawn in there or something like by the pool, and you can drink about a 6-pack of these and still feel real nice, 4.5 ABV on these suckers. So much like a lot of craft beers you see, kind of higher ABV, and a lot of people go for that. But we try to do more crushable stuff here, stuff you can last a little longer on.
Yeah, I mean, because I can drink maybe about like a good 3 or 4 of these after I'm like, okay, all right, I'm good.
Mini Boss though will creep up on you. You get 2 of those in you, smooth as hell.
I have not tried Mini Boss yet, and I'm kind of, now that you said that, I'm not sure if I want something creeping up on me.
It's a 7%er, man, just about under 7%, and it's one of the smoothest IPAs in Houston, and that's just me saying that. But I'm a big fan of that beer before I worked here, and just working in the environment in which that beer is made is kind of a dream for me. It's one of my favorites, and so I know that beer all too well to know that you know it's so easy going down, but after 2 or 3 of those suckers, you're like, oh man, that's too easy. But Buckle Bunny is quite the opposite. You can kind of crush on those all day and be all right. So definitely in the Houston summer months, we kind of go towards this region. We do have a new beer out that is just as low in the ABV, but kind of different twist. It's our new Salt and Lime Kolsch, so kind of similar to like a Mexican lager, fully dressed. It's called Un Poquito Más, and that beer just released about 3 weeks ago, and I'm telling you, something to look forward to for the summer. That beer should be in every refrigerator, ready to go.
I was actually looking for it at HEB. I did not find it. It must have sold out. I'm not sure.
We are restocking the market as we speak. It moved very quickly in its first debut. Good news is we have it all the time here in the tap room. You can buy it in 6-packs or on draft. But if you're looking for it in the grocery stores, please be patient. Be there in about a week.
So if you want the new flavor, you pretty much have to come here then.
Yeah, I mean, but it's not a bad thing. It's generally, you can get it on draft here. Try it first. If you like it, buy a 6-pack, take it home. Buy a case if you want to. We'll sell it by the case. We also have a new seltzer that we just released too, called Fizzy Pants. So that came out around the same time as Un Poquito Más. It comes out in a variety pack, 4 different flavors: peach, watermelon, grapefruit, and I always forget the 4th one. Strawberry. So strawberry, peach, grapefruit, and watermelon, all in a 12-pack variety pack. You can get those anywhere in grocery stores around Houston. Also super crushable. I want to say they're 5%, about 0.5% over the rest that you would see out there. Your Trulies, your White Claws. 100 calories, no carbs, or 2 grams of carbs, no gluten-free. Super, super easy, really refreshing beverages. So if you haven't tried those yet and you're in the seltzer game, come try ours. We have them on tap. We also sell them by the cans, and you can get them in the grocery store as well.
So you were saying AVB? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, so alcohol by volume. So that any of our cans, you'll see the little circle on the side, and that basically tells you how potent it's going to be. And like your seltzers, for instance, they tend to range up until now, range in about the 4.5 range. Ours are 5, but now Truly, White Claw, and a lot of these companies are coming out with 7%ers and 8%ers that are deadly.
I bet. I cannot do a Truly's. Or I've tried the Topo Chicos. Those were pretty good, but
pretty tasty. Yeah,
I kind of felt a certain way after drinking a couple of them. I was like, you know what? I can't do this.
Yeah, go back to beer.
Yeah, of course. So, can you give us a little insight on how the process is of making the beer and stuff like that?
Sure. So it's not as quick, I think, as people may think, and just kind of going down the complete process of how we develop a beer or a new beer. We kind of start with what the beer is, what we're going to make in light of, give you an example here, Neon Moon, for instance. We had a Belgian single we're going to release for seasonal. We kind of start with the name or the style of the beer and see what kind of creative names we can come up around it. And as you know, all of our beers have their own character and identity, if you will. And so we try to figure out the name. We kind of throw a bucket list of names out there. And then we, as a staff, vote on the name and what we feel like is going to be the most desirable, idea in the market, what's going to catch people's eyes, or be funny and make somebody chuckle or something like that. And so we came up for the Belgian single. There's a Brooks and Dunn song called Neon Moon. if you're aware of it or not.
Yes, I am.
So we went through the process of trademarking, because any beer that we put out on the shelves we have to own the name, and we were like, what's the odds of getting Neon Moon? That's got to be trademarked. Sure enough, no. Now we own Neon Moon. And so now that we had the name of the beer, we were like, well, this is easy. The character has to kind of resemble, have that rodeo vibe, country music vibe, and kind of be Brooks and Dunny, but not, enough to be able to get in trouble. And what I know everybody can't hear right now, but what you see behind you is the iteration of that design up there on my wall. It's a yellow moon with a purple cowboy hat and a mustache, which is the tie back to Brooks and Dunn there, if you will. And then, that, and lo and behold, too, that logo, that name, and everything else was probably one of the biggest sellers of that beer because of its tie to Brooks and Dunn, because of its tie and release around the rodeo. Just was a heavy hitter. And now it's one of our most popular beers. But, we start off with a Belgian single, and you're like, what do you do with a Belgian single? And, how are we going to, make it sellable? And, while the beer tastes good, we know that, but it's part of the marketing to get people to purchase that beer. And so a name and a design around that beer is really, really important to us, and making sure, and people, again, look for that from us. And so it's probably about a 3 to 5 month process, from the creation of the beer, the creation of the name, getting the labels ordered, merchandise, promotion around it, all that stuff. It's quite a task. Some beers take longer than others, depending on if they have a charitable component to them. Then we have to work with third-party entities and all that. But in the case of like Neon Moon, that was just completely in-house, something we derived from nothing to something, and it turned out to be one of our more popular seasonal beers. So.
That's crazy that Neon Moon was not trademarked. You would think they would have trademarked it.
You would have thought, shame on you, Brooks and Dunn.
Y'all messed up.
But if you want it back, no.
You might have to pay a pretty penny. So, but I mean, that's crazy. And that's really awesome that you guys kind of just sit down, think, and you all agree in like one unison, and then it becomes like a big seller. That's crazy that, how the process is. Because like you said, a lot of people know about that stuff.
Right. I mean, just over the pandemic alone, we released 89 different products. 89. That's unheard of for us. But again, we had plenty of time on our hands for the first probably 4 or 5 months of the pandemic. So you can imagine how many designs and how many brainstorm sessions we had to do over the course of a year for 89 different beers.
That's crazy.
Our designer, bless her heart, she was working her butt off to get all this stuff out there. We now kind of scaled back that now that we're back kind of open to the public and getting back into the swing of things, but we're still releasing a new beer every week.
Every week?
Every single week we have a new beer release, whether or not it be a distributed beer or something we're just selling here in the tap room.
Okay.
But we also, every week we have a new, this week we have our Summer Kolsch Crispy Summer is just released on yesterday. So that was our release this week. We've got a plethora of things in the lineup for the month of June, including our new Pride beer that's going to be released into all the grocery stores, on tap everywhere. It's called Lavender Bunny. People may have seen it in the last couple of years, but this year it's getting a major distribution, and it's benefiting the Montrose Center. So we're excited about that. Yeah,
I've seen the Lavender Bunny, and I wanted to get the opportunity to taste it, but it's always sold out, so I was like, oh, darn, I missed it.
You have a connection now, bud. We'll get you some.
Hell yes. I usually have sounds to go with this, but
I can make my own. Yes.
So, can you also give us a little insight to how you make the beer? Do you guys also sit down and brainstorm, okay, this goes with this flavor well, and this stuff like that? I mean...
Yeah, it's a little harder for me to speak on that since I don't really mess with the production side of the beer. I'm more in the marketing and side of that stuff. But I do know they have separate meetings that I'm not usually privy to, or I don't have anything to add there because I'm not a brewer. And also my flavor palette is not as refined as theirs is. Although I'm trying. We do a lot of sensory here at the brewery for educational purposes and just making sure our beer is up to par compared to other people's beer as well. So, We do a lot of that, but as far as the process of making beer is concerned, and to my knowledge, it works in very similar fashion. Casey, our owner and head brewer, works alongside Georgie, who is assistant head brewer here as well, and they are responsible, along with the rest of our brew team, coming up with interesting recipes, collaborations, stuff like that. But if you had to ask them, I'm sure that there's probably some science behind it, and there's some this flavor works well with this flavor. I did try to brew a beer one time. I tried to make a version of a duck sauce beer.
A duck sauce beer.
Yeah. So we were showing Blade Runner. It was an anniversary screening of the movie, and I had a full Chinese dinner thing set up. And I wanted to make a beer that was resemblant to Chinese food or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I was like, what flavors work here? And I'm like, well, duck sauce is sweet. What's in duck sauce? Plum, apricot, stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I'll make a sour beer that's duck sauce related. And lo and behold, did not work. It tasted terrible. And if I would have listened to the brewer who was instructing me on flavor profiles, I'm sure it would have tasted a lot better. But that's why I'm not brewing beer. He's like, you know what, man? It's your beer. If you want to try this out, go for it. And yeah, it wasn't. It never even made it to the tap wall. It just dumped it.
Oh man!
Yeah. But it's it's the way of the game. We're all privileged here to every anniversary, every 1 year we complete here, we get to brew a beer. And so that was my first attempt at brewing a beer that did not work so well. But again, like I said, that's why I'm not included on brewing recipes and brainstorming on that. But they do a really great job of that, so and we put out some fantastic beers thanks to those guys.
So we all know that COVID happened last year, lockdowns and stuff like that. How did it affect Eureka?
Well, that's a great question. We were very privileged enough not to have to lose anybody here to the pandemic, and we were able to keep everybody on staff. Me personally probably would have been the first person to cut. Events aren't happening, tap room's not open. Why am I here? Mm-hmm. So luckily for the few of us that didn't have a real role when the pandemic started, it just kind of wiped out our jobs. We were able to find homes for the rest of us in different areas. And I mentioned earlier that I sat downstairs on the packaging line for 6 months during the summer, just packaging beer. Not anything what I expected or wanted to do here at a brewery, but it kind of saved my life and my job here. So, if it weren't for that, I'd probably been looking for a new gig. And now I'm here and staying here and back in my old role again. But to answer more about that too, I want to give a quick thanks to the community. Honestly, our neighbors and our fans kept us alive. If it weren't for them coming through our drive-through every day and buying beer from us and helping us move this inventory, it would have been a different story. We would be sitting here today. Thankfully, our neighbors did not want us to see us go anywhere. And so I'm still skeptical on where some of these guys stored all the beer they bought from us over the course of the early months of the pandemic, because they would come by and they would get cases of beer every day. And I'm like, you're not drinking this fast. I know that. So were you guys just stockpiling it in the garage? What are you?
Maybe they are. Maybe it's for parties.
And I wasn't mad at them, but I'm like, guys, you guys are really helping us, stay alive here. And I mean, it really did do us justice in keeping our business going. And not to mention what I talked about earlier, the 89 beers we released, mm-hmm. Staying relevant and doing new things helped us stay alive through the pandemic. It kept people interested in what we were doing. We saw that trend happening with a lot of breweries around us too. When you have the time on your hands, make something out of it. And we did. We worked our butts off to put out numerous releases, do creative things with local bars or local restaurants. We were doing drive-through pairing packs, and we have one now that we're still, I don't want to say we're out of the pandemic, but we're definitely on the back end of this thing. We're still doing a lot of the activities that we were doing during the pandemic, because mm-hmm. they took on a liking. People really enjoyed them, and so right now we're working with a group of guys called the Dumpling Dudes, and they make artisan handmade dumplings, and we did a beer pairing with them that is being sold directly through our drive-through, and it's completely sold out. 112 pairing packs.
Really? Wow.
So just goes to show you some of these things now that we acquired during the pandemic, we're keeping and we're adopting into our normal routine, including our drive-through. Our drive-through never existed until the pandemic, but it is something people have kind of taken a liking to, and we're not getting rid of it. It's going to stay there for as long as we're here, and we may actually build it out to be a true drive-through, not like the one we have right now where it's just a tent set up in the front of the building. But right now it works for us, and everybody seems to love it, so it stays. And I kind of some silver lining of this terrible year we had is kind of some new techniques that we weren't even thinking of until now. And I think a lot of businesses probably have that same vibe. There's some things that we weren't forced to do until this time, and we had to all get creative, and it somehow worked out. And like I said, we're here, man. And thankfully, I don't think Houston lost a single brewery during this whole process. I think every brewery pretty much made it through, which is great. So that just tells me that the craft beer scene in Houston is super supportive.
Yeah, that's one thing about us Houstonians. We're very supportive. We love our neighbors. We don't want anything to go away and stuff like that. If it's something is a big staple in the community, everybody wants to come and support it and stuff like that. So that's really great that the community came and supported you guys during the tough time that we were all going through, especially with my job. I work for the school district, HISD.
Nice.
And we were constantly working with the food bank. So we were out there distributing food every day. We're going to schools and just feeding people constantly. And,
that's really awesome, man.
Yeah, we were just trying to help out the community because, in need, people lost jobs. People didn't have income to have food and stuff like that. So we stepped up and we provided food for everyone in the city. I think we fed like almost 2.5 million people or something like that.
Wow.
And we're still doing it now. So we have our distributions on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Mm-hmm. So, constantly we're still feeding the community and showing them that, hey, we do care and we do appreciate you guys and we love you, because the kids in the school, they're the ones that are most affected by this, because they're not going to school and they have to be home, and sometimes the parents they're not home because they're working. So it's like, how are you going to feed the kids and stuff like that? So
absolutely,
we're just out there just doing the best we can for the community.
Well, man, on that note, man, we thank you for that, because that means a lot to us too. And we kind of were in the same boat with y'all during the early on days. We were like I said, left with nothing to do. Our sales team was pretty much jobless at that point, and so our sales team went out and volunteered for almost 4 or 5 months with kids meals, delivering food to kids around the Houston area, and that spawned into a long-term partnership with them that we are spearheading, trying to encourage volunteer work at kids meals alongside our staff going over there at least once a month to volunteer. Each of us have an obligation to donate our time once a month that our company has been gracious enough to pay us for, and so we were utilizing those advantages to get back out into the community, not stopping what we've done in the pandemic ages. And I think it's just the long story short to make, a pandemic should not stop good deeds. If you were out there helping out the community early on because you needed something to do and get your mind off the craziness that was going on, continue that. Like we saw so much value in just being out there with people and people giving us the respect of like, you guys don't need to be here, but thank you for coming out. And I commend a lot of other breweries doing the same thing. St. Arnold did a lot of community work during the pandemic and continues to do that. Carbach does too. We got to keep doing this, man, because our community needs the support, and it's not going to just be over. It's going to take a lot of time to rebuild and get people back in a comfortable state. And there's a lot of kids I've learned over the course of a year that are just deprived of so much. It's sad to drive around through communities and pass out sack lunches to kids that are that's the thing that they look forward to every single day, is to get a sack lunch, and they don't care what's inside. They just need to eat. And you drive through these neighborhoods and these kids would be sitting on their doorsteps just waiting for your car to pull through so they could get something to eat. And it's just heartbreaking, man. So, that left a lasting impression on us. And we, like I said, started a annual campaign with them to make sure that we're driving donations and driving volunteer work to them, along with other companies and organizations that we're close to as well. We work with a veterans networking company called Combined Arms that we do a lot of work with. We do what else we're doing? Montrose Center, like I told you, kind of started off as a Pride Month thing, trying to donate money to them, and now we work with them annually, do a lot of different events with them too. So, like I said, we're just trying to make good out of a really crappy situation, and not just to let that fall by the wayside after, let's say, the pandemic is over. I'm not going to say that for fear of backlash, because it's not, but it doesn't need to end, is what I'm saying. It needs to continue. We have shown what we're made of, and we're shown that we can get out there and do this stuff, and it shouldn't stop.
Exactly. I totally 100% agree with you. Just because something is kind of sort of ending doesn't mean that the contributing stuff that we are doing should have to end. Like you guys helping out and delivering food, and us as well delivering food. It is heartbreaking to know that those kids, that's the only meal that they have, and it sucks because, like I said, when the kids are in school, that's the only meal that they have for the rest of the day, because either the parents are not home or the parents can't provide. And it does break my heart as well, that knowing that, hey, it sucks that these kids, but we, with Houston ISD Food Services, we deliver these food every day to all these schools, and we feed these kids, and it makes us feel good, and it makes us happy knowing that we're doing our part to help these kids out, regardless of whatever their situation is.
Well, dude, I mean, on behalf of us, man, thank you for your service, man. You're doing a killer job, and we respect the hell out of that.
I mean, we respect you guys as well. I mean, we all just care about one another. Like I said, I don't know if it's a Southern thing. I don't know if it's just as Houstonians, but as a humans, we just care about each other, and we're supposed to look out for one another and help out one another.
I think it's just a human thing, man, and it's whether or not you want to be on that side. If you want to be somebody that cares and wants to see other people around you thrive and not go hungry and have a good education and all this stuff, then do what you can with what you have to make that happen. We're not all blessed with resources to make things like that happen. There are other ways you can do it. You can volunteer your time. I'm grateful enough to have a bunch of beer at my disposal to be able to throw at organizations that are trying to do fundraiser events or need free alcohol for fundraiser events. We donate so much beer to that, but then, like I said, we do monetary stuff too. And when it counts, we really try to drive those numbers up. Like I said, in the early months of June here, we'll be starting with the Montrose Center and their campaign that we do annually with them. And like I said, our goal is to hit $20,000 raised to LGBTQ youth, elderly, for whether or not they're dealing with mental illness or homelessness or just need some food or medical attention. These guys do great work in that regard, and so we're stoked to be supporting them in this time.
That's great to hear. I didn't really know much about the Montrose Center, but to know that you guys are helping out, I mean, regardless of what people believe and what people see, we're helping out humans dealing with mental health issues. We're helping with people that are homeless, regardless of their sexuality, regardless of their gender, whatever. You still should just help out a person because they're a human, just like you. They feel, just like you. They're hungry, just like you. And it's like, regardless of all that, we all have to help out one another, regardless.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. No discrimination here at this place. We love everybody.
And that's how it should be.
Yep.
So, Evan, are you originally from here, Houston?
Yeah, well, yes and no. I was born in Oklahoma City, but I didn't spend a whole lot of time there. My dad actually took a job with Enron, and we moved to Houston when I was like 4 or 5. So my answer to that question every time is I went through Houston public schooling system. I'm a Houstonian. From through to through.
Yes.
I was educated in this city. I lived here since I was like 4 or 5. I don't really claim Oklahoma as my home.
Well, I mean, Oklahoma is pretty much part of Dallas, so we can claim you.
Yeah. It's just
South
there.
Oklahoma.
Yeah, South Texas, or no, North Texas.
North Texas.
Yeah. But no, I claim this city as my home, man. I'm a very prideful individual about this city, and which is also just a great reason to work for a local craft brewery. It just doesn't give me any more street cred than that, you know?
Exactly. So you were saying earlier in the show that you guys are the number 3 most selling, I guess, beer. I'm guessing number 2 is Karbach, and number 1 is probably St. Arnold's.
Yep.
So that's really good company.
It's very good company, man. Yeah, it surprises the shit out of us. Can I say that?
Yeah, of course. Right. You can say whatever you want.
It surprises the shit out of us, man. That, you know, I mean, we all work really hard here, and we all dream of seeing those numbers and pop up. But yeah, in the last, especially during the pandemic, man, it's very cool to see how much our brewery has sustained and continues to grow. We take things, I want to say not too slow, but we take things with ease. We don't try to rush anything out, and we make business plans to make sure that we can sustain and build ourselves slowly but efficiently. And it's just seemed to work really out for us at this point. I mean, it's still going pretty strong. Like I said, it's definitely, it's bumped us up into that third best-selling craft beer spot in Houston, and it toggles, but to even hold that place for a little bit, because you're not going to touch the other guys. Like,
of course not. Yeah,
they make so much more beer than we do, and so there's not a point in fit, and we are even going to get to that level unless we become a St. Arnold or a Karbach. But long road ahead of us before we get there, and right now we're just happy in the place we're in, and to be able to say that we're the third best selling craft brew in Houston. And we've actually just expanded into Galveston and around the Gulf Coast area too, so we're working on getting our portfolio up there and getting people into the Eureka Heights brand. And it's a little harder out there because there are Miller Lite, Bud Light drinkers out there, and so craft beer, while it exists, is a little foreign still. And so we're kind of opening that up with a couple other craft breweries that are out there right now and trying to get that message across. But slowly but surely, it's working out, man. We're getting some love out there in Galveston.
That's good, yeah, because I know Galveston has, I think, 1 or 2 breweries and stuff like that. So it's pretty good getting your beer out there on the island.
Well, luckily too, those craft breweries you mentioned are big fans of ours too.
Really?
So they're advocates to see Eureka out there. Some of the bars, craft beer bars out there too, are big fans. And before we were distributed out there, they would always come over here and buy beer. And
really?
Yeah. So it's. I think they're excited that we're now being distributed out there, and we just did one of our first big event out there. They're a big beach party that they do every year. It's kind of like a swimsuit contest and classic car show, just old school vibe. And we were the sponsors of that and got a really nice response out of it. Kind of gave us a good idea of how many people are actually paying attention and seeing that our product's out on the shelves. But we have a lot of Buckle Bunny fans out there, so that's always the gateway beer.
It is for sure. I mean, like I said, that's the first beer I started off when I started drinking Eureka, and I mean, it gets you in because it's like, oh, it's so good, it's so creamy, and it doesn't have like a very hard taste. It just is a very smooth taste,
right?
Because sometimes I don't like drinking beers where I'm tasting it and I'm like, ooh, it gives a nasty taste in my mouth, or it just tastes like water.
Yeah,
like a certain type of beer that I'm not gonna talk about, but but Buckle Bunny was just like, oh man, this is good. I could crush these all day, like you were saying.
Yep,
it's so good.
That's what it's made for, man.
So knowing like the whole craft beer community, like with you guys in St. Arnold and Karbach, do you guys like regularly like hang out with each other and just like talk shop and go to each other's breweries and stuff like that? Yeah,
man. Funny story. When I first started in the industry, I kind of figured out it was like this like brotherhood rivalry, so many breweries available to anybody out here. You can pretty much throw a quarter and there's another brewery down the road, and so there's a lot of competition. And so I came into this environment from previous jobs thinking, got to be a competitor, got to stay above the rest. And yes, that's part of it, but I think there's way more camaraderie in this community than I ever expected. And it doesn't come across that way of like, your beer's outselling my beer, or I'm going to take a tap from you at this bar. It doesn't really work that way. People really respect one another. As you can see too, a lot of our breweries in the Houston area do a lot of collab work together. So there's a lot of inner workings and staying on the same page, being able to work together on that. But then we have events that we do together. Like next weekend, 5 breweries here in the area are doing a bike crawl. So
really?
We've all linked up. We've been emailing back and forth, trying to organize this thing together. And it's never really ever a difficult endeavor. Like everybody just really works well together. We all know each other. We have this unspoken bond where, you come to our brewery, we hook you up. If you work for another brewery, we go to Carbach, they hook us up. We all just take care of one another. And I love that about this industry. Like I said, coming into it, I had a different vibe. I was like, I'm ready to compete, ready to get out there and bust some skulls. But no, man, like it's totally different, and I think I appreciate it a whole lot more because it brings the pressure down.
Yeah.
There's you won't see your fellow Carbach employee or Eighth Wonder employee or St. Arnold employee at a grocery store stocking shelves and right next to us, and we're not like yelling at each other. We're just hey buddy, what's up? See you at the brewery later. Yeah, I'll come by. Kind of super simple. We all enjoy each other's beer, and let's put it this way: if you drink your own beer the whole time, you're going to get tired of it. You got to go sample around somewhere, man. Like, you don't want to get tired of the same thing every day. And we have access to this beer all day, but I'd like to go over to Eighth Wonder or St. Arnold or something like that, have a beer over there too, see what they're doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with podcasters here. You would think it'd be dog eat dog. I got to get more views and more listens than you, but no, a lot of us just come together and we all support each other. We all want to work with each other. Sometimes I'll collab with the local podcast, and I'll do the same. And we just all want to help out each other. So it's pretty. We're all like in the same boat. It's all community. It's all just friends, and just everybody helping out one another as humans.
Absolutely.
So, can you tell me your favorite beers? And I'm gonna name you just a couple breweries. Mm-hmm. Your favorite beers from Carbach.
Favorite beer from Carbach, Hopadillo.
Ooh, I like the Crawford Buck, my personal favorite.
Yeah. I also like Tasty Waves, but that's a seasonal beer, so I don't get it very often. But Hopadillo is usually my go-to when I'm drinking Carbach. I'm an IPA fan mostly, so usually is where I gravitate towards.
St. Arnold's.
St. Arnold Orange Show until it no longer existed.
What?
I think it's no longer or at least no longer in their distribution, or if it's seasonal now. But Orange Show was phenomenal.
I have not tasted it, but I do live like right across the street from Orange, so
yeah.
But no, my favorite beer from St. Arnold's, man, I'm drawing a blank, but I do enjoy the root beer. The root beer is amazing.
You can't beat that root beer, man.
No, you can't.
It's so good. I really their pilsners are pretty phenomenal too. In fact, if you haven't had it already, their new barrel aged release, their old fashioned.
Okay, yeah, I've seen that.
Barley wine aged in. It's a bourbon barrel aged something, but I can't remember the barrels they use. But phenomenal beer, or barley wine, if you will. But something like I'm really kind of digging these cocktail iterations of beers, and they just nailed it with that one. Like that old fashioned is phenomenal.
Exactly. And their brewery is really nice. I mean, they had the whole addition with their little outside, where you can sit and eat and stuff like that. So they're doing really good for themselves. That's
a really
pretty
cool
awesome
design out there in their little
in
their patio area. They if you see it from an aerial view, it's a giant hop.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool, and I didn't even notice that at first, but then I saw a drone image of it. I'm like, oh, that's so cool. So
smart.
They spent some money on that place, and it shows.
Yeah,
really shows.
I mean, if they're number one, of course they're gonna, make everything look nice and the community look nice, to get more people.
Well, and like I said, they're a huge staple to tourism here in Houston. While I like to call them the Gateway Houston Brewery, because people are going to go usually to St. Arnold or Carbach first. It's low hanging fruit. If you look at if you're traveling here from any state and you look at the In-Flight magazine, there's a Carbach and a St. Arnold. When you're visiting Houston, go see these breweries. Mm-hmm. But those breweries typically trickle down to us, and they you get a lot of tourism asking, hey, where's another brewery? What's another brewery to try? And they send them our way. And so I have mad respect for that, and utilizing their platform to help smaller breweries to bring other people in. So nobody just goes to one, especially if you're like, I'm here to do breweries.
Yeah.
we love the fact that they recommend and send them down to us, or New Magnolia, 11 Below, Eighth Wonder, and those places. So they're big advocates for us, and that just kind of ties right back into the whole community aspect of this whole brewery scene.
That's great. All right, the last one, Eighth Wonder. What is your favorite Eighth Wonder beer?
Oh man, so they're kind of all over the place, but I like Rocket Fuel. Rocket Fuel has been my kind of all-time go-to with them. Mm-hmm. Honestly, because I'm not a stout guy at all, but I love Vietnamese iced coffee, and so that beer represents a Vietnamese iced coffee so well, and it's just kind of my go-to. But there was one that they did with Bun B called, I think it was called Boss Beer.
Is it like the cider? I think, is it the cider one?
Pineapple. I want to say it was a pineapple Kolsch, but it was fruitier side, a little sour, yeah. And it was great too. Like really, really good beer. But like if I had my go-to, the Rocket Fuel, and then their Nitro Rocket Fuel, you can get in their tap room, and occasionally they do the variants of it too, where it's like Rocket Fuel with vanilla or whatever you do with that. It's also good with ice cream. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, really? Yeah. Ice cream? Yeah, my girlfriend tasted it. We go to this little bar over there in Edo called Neil's Bar.
Hell yeah, man. I love Neil's.
All right. We had a fellow Neil fan. So, yeah, we go there, and that's our spot. We just go, and we sit in the booths, and we chill, and we drink beer and stuff like that. And she tried the Rocket Fuel, and I was like, oh, wow, this is really good. I was like, you should put some like vanilla in this or something. But, of course, they're not going to have vanilla on hand. But I was like, it's really good. It is really good. Really good beer. Shout out to them.
Yeah, for sure, man. They make some quality product over there at Eighth Wonder. Not to mention they got the distillery now.
Yeah, they do. I have not gone to the distillery yet.
I've got a bottle right there, I think, next to next to the red one. I don't know if I think there's some gin left in there. But it's solid stuff. Solid. They're doing great work on both fields.
Nice. I'm going to have to go try that.
Yeah.
Sorry, excuse me. So, what else can I ask? So, pretty much, let's get off the beer subject a little bit. Let's get to more and more about you. So, I'm here in your office, and I'm noticing you're a music fan. I can assume. So, favorite bands you have?
Yeah, man, that's another big question. Hard to answer. I'm a punk rocker through and through, man. I grew up in the punk rock scene. I played in punk rock bands, but I think the punk rock community and the music genre really derives from quite a bit of different music genres. I mean, you got stuff driving from like Woody Guthrie into the Clash and stuff like that. So, country meets punk rock. And I really like that like medium of like the country meets punk rock. And I would have to say if you asked me what my favorite band would be Social Distortion. I think that really embodies that country punk vibe. Like you get some fast in your face music, but then they throw in a harmonica and stuff like that. And it just doesn't quite fit the full punk rock world, but it kind of crosses lines a little bit. I mean, you don't see that very often, but another band that does that really well is Gaslight Anthem, which they're not a band anymore, but their singer Brian Fallon has spun off and has started doing this punk rock band. Now he's more bluegrass country, and a lot of his inspiration derives from Bruce Springsteen, which is my all-time favorite. Like I think a lot of things that remind me of Bruce Springsteen really set well with me, and I kind of dig his whole working class vibe. I like all the music that he does is from the heart, tells a story, and I think it just translates so well down to the music that I grew up listening to. And I'm admittedly not a Bruce Springsteen fan early on. My parents liked Springsteen and Billy Joel and stuff like that, and my dad was very big into country. My mom was more into the rock and roll, oddly enough. It's a weird mix, but my love for Bruce Springsteen really was more later in life, my high school years, when I was getting into punk rock, and I was like very influential by my friends and people that were in the community in Houston. And it was important to me at that time to want to fit in and want to be knowledgeable on all the stuff that the old bucks had knowledge on. And, that was my first I think at that time my first real dive into the Clash and listening to them, and then really doing my research on them and how they became a band, and that Woody Guthrie, Ty, Joe Strummer of the Clash was a huge Woody Guthrie fan, and his alter ego name was Woody. So there's a song by the Gaslight Anthem called "I Should Have Called You Woody," and it's about Joe Strummer of the Clash. And, again, his I guess starstruck fame around Woody Guthrie, and it's kind of just weird to me how a British punk rocker could derive inspiration from a country singer. It doesn't make any sense to me, but you know, that's what worked for them. And then, as you know, Clash kind of went off and did more reggae pop stuff and started taking inspiration from everything else. But I think if you had to ask me what my favorite band or musician was, I think it has to stem from Bruce Springsteen, and then on down from there. I mean, as you see right there, I'm a huge Iggy Pop fan too. That guy's a crazy son of a bitch, and he's kind of ageless, and I don't know how he does it, but like that guy still does it today, and I've seen him multiple times, and in his age, you would think that he'd be pickled and in a couch somewhere not doing anything, but man, he's just up there rocking still, and I can appreciate the hell out of that. But you know, and then I'm big into hip hop too. I love Houston hip hop and Bun B and all that stuff, man. I support the hell out of that. And you know, Travis Scott, big fan of him. I'm also way into the sneaker game too, so that whole community really works well. And you know, I buy a lot of product from Travis Scott. The guy pretty much has cleaned out my bank account.
Yeah, I can totally understand what you mean. So before we get into anything else, have you ever had any of the Houston rappers come to Eureka Brewery and just be like, hey, can I get some of that?
Oh, let me think about that. Not to my knowledge, but I know we work with different people that have direct ties to the hip hop community here in Houston. Okay. I wouldn't say the hip hop community has gravitated towards us, to my knowledge, but we do have a lot of other bands and stuff here in Houston that we see in here occasionally. There's a band just out of Montrose that comes in here quite often called Vody. Okay. Kind of a more soft rock band. We really like them here. It kind of gives off that nice 80s Fleetwood Mac vibe, and their singer really likes our wicked awesome ESB, so he comes in here all the time and buys that stuff up from us. But as far as the Houston rapper scene, not to my knowledge, but I hope that they're drinking our beer. I know we've sponsored a lot of parties that they were at, so so eventually I hope they had a Buckle Bunny in their hand at some point.
Well, hopefully you guys out there in the Houston rap game come and check out some Eureka Breers. These are really good.
Yeah, we got too many to pass up. Like, you know, there's definitely going to be something on our wall that you're going to like for sure.
Exactly. So I've seen Vody before. I think I saw them at, I don't know if it was In Bloom or was it the last year of Free Press.
They were at In Bloom.
There you go.
Yeah, because I went and saw them there. They've played here before too.
Really?
We've had them here 2 years ago for our anniversary party. Great guys, wonderful music. We thoroughly love them here. But yeah, their singer comes in here all the time for Wicked. He loves Wicked Awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So and then there's a band called Swimwear Department.
I think I've heard of that before.
Yeah, those guys come in here. They've played our building before too. But yeah, we're open to anybody and everybody. Like, so, you know, Houston hip hop community, come out. We want you here.
Well, maybe we might get Paul Wall. Who knows?
Man, he got that beer with Eighth Wonder too.
Yeah, I saw that.
So, but either way, man, tell him. Yeah, if you're listening, Paul Wall, come on.
I might actually try to get Paul Wall on the show. I have some ties that knows him, so maybe if I get Paul Wall on the show, maybe I might try to get him to Eureka. Who knows?
Tell you what, man, I'll set you up with a bunch of beer. Just have it setting out.
It's like, oh, okay, this is where it's at.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a dream of mine to have Paul Wall. Try to get some Houston rappers. You know, everybody looks up to Paul Wall. Everybody loves the People's Champ, and you know he does so much for the community. So it's why not have him? You know, on the show. So
he's a good dude, man. He him, Bun B, Trey the Truth, all those guys, man, they do so much for Houston, so much. Right now they're big advocates and trying to get people vaccinated too now, and I respect the hell out of that. You know, just kind of trying to get the community in order, and they do such a good job of it. And mad shout outs to those guys.
Great role models. Role models. What was I going to ask you? So from your perspective, I know like certain breweries in like different parts of the country, they like to, I guess you can say, they're like mad scientists when it comes to their beers. Like they'll do like a peanut butter cookie and stuff like that. What do you think about those? Have you tried any of those like before?
Yeah, they are good. They are nothing wrong with those guys or any of those beers. They're definitely desserty in a sense where you just gotta have one, you know. And you know, it's hard to like. It's hard to see that come out and not go, "Ooh, I want to know what that tastes like." And I admit we've done some of those here too, man. We don't do as many of them, but we get crazy and something. We had a one called Choosy Moms, which is our peanut butter chocolate beer that tasted just like a peanut butter chocolate cookie. Man, it was delicious. But then we kind of get into every year around the rodeo. We do our carnival beers or carny beers, and those are out of this world sweet bombs. Like they're cotton candy buckle bunny. We have lemon lime mini boss. We do fried Oreo stouts. We do churro, a churro. I think was it a Belgian churro? But we do all these different beers that are just, you know, within that realm. It's not, like I said, it's something we don't frequent a lot because our vibe is more easy drinking. You know, we want you to put down a 6-pack, not just beer, you know. And so, but as far as the concept around creative, crazy beers is concerned, I think it's only bettering the beer community. It gives variety for people, and there's a lot of people out there that just want that stuff. And I see a lot. You go through different breweries, and while I feel like you see the same demographic a little bit here and there, there's definitely different vibes of individuals at each place. And I think that definitely is derived from the beer that they produce. So, good example, Urban South. Urban South does quite a bit of the dessert style kind of beers, puts a lot of marshmallow and stuff like that in there. And then you go and you see their crowd, and man, they've got a lively bunch of people out there, younger demographic. Maybe some of them are just now getting into the craft brew scene, but they're being attracted to those beers because it's crazy ass flavors, man. Like I went over there the other day and got one that was like Dr. Pepper marshmallow,
really
craziness. And it tasted like Dr. Pepper and marshmallow. And I'm like, I don't know how you guys do this. But it's definitely one of those beers like, I can't put down a 4-pack of those things. It's like
just one.
I don't know that I need to be putting down a 4-pack of those things, but one is enough. But they're good, man. I got them credit, and like I said, it does create sort of a gateway into craft beer for some people too. So people that are just intrigued by crazy flavors, we're gonna go, okay, I'm gonna go to Urban South, but then start to approach and look at different other breweries and seeing what they're doing. And we all cross lines and do some similar things, but there's always a differential like vibe about every place and what we produce.
Yeah, exactly. I have not been to Urban South yet, but I do have some friends that go there. Pop Soap, they're kind of like a staple there at Urban South. So shout out to Pop Soap. I have them on the show as well.
Nice.
And I do know they have an Urban South in New Orleans. We were just in New Orleans a couple months ago, and I was like, hey, we should stop by Urban South, and we never did. But
it's a different place, man.
Yeah.
They do a lot of different things. Our Urban South is very experimental. I don't know if you know much about those guys, but the brewer there, I want to say his name is Dave or David. He came from B52 out there in Conroe area. And if you're familiar with what they do, is a very similar vibe. So what I think he did is he when he left B52 to come to Urban South, he basically took what he was doing at B52 and just enhanced the hell out of it, and giving him creative freedom to do so many cool different things. And that's what you're seeing coming out of their brewery today, just wild flavors.
Exactly. I think another thing that does attract a lot of people besides the flavor of the beers is the color of the cans and the designs and stuff like that as well. I think that's a big I think that's really big for them, that like, oh, I like the can, it looks pretty, it looks nice, it makes me want to taste it and stuff like that. I know a guy, his name is Michael, and he trades beers and stuff like that. There's this community in Houston that they'll go and trade certain beers from different breweries and stuff like that. And he's always telling me like, yeah, man, I got this beer. I went to San Antonio to go trade with this guy, and this guy from Conroe came over here and traded with me. And I'm like, that's a really cool community that they just trade beers and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, that's a big thing, man. Trust me, we get emails all the time going, hey, can I have this beer shipped to me? I'm in North Carolina. And I'm like, due to our distribution laws and rules, we were not allowed to put beer in the mail and ship it to you. But what generally occurs, and what I usually put in my email is like, hey, you gotta plug in Houston, man. Just contact them and tell them to come by, and then they can ship it to you. And it happens all the time. And so you get a lot of people that are within this, like, we nicely refer to them as craft beer nerds, and they do a lot of that, a lot of trading. I mean, hell, I'm probably half of our staff is involved in that same operation.
Really?
Like they'll sit around a table with a box of barrel aged stuff and go, okay, I'll give you this for that, or 2 of these for this, and like it's like trading pogs or trading cards or something like that. They just, or not to mention, I mean, the value in some of this stuff. Like craft beer is taking on a wild eBay value. Like there's some releases that come out. We're working on one right now, without giving out too much information, with one of the stars from Big Trouble in Little China.
Okay.
So we're working on a collab beer with he or she. Can't say it yet, but we'll soon be announcing that. And there's already people with him teasing. I said he. Now it's a he.
Oh.
With him teasing it on his social media pages, have reached out to us already asking when and how can they get whatever we're doing with him. And most of these people are in overseas. Some of them are in Japan. Some are just a state away, but it's like, okay, how are we going to do this where obviously we're trying to cater to these people that aren't going to be able to get this beer? And I think it's going to be the same thing. The good news is there's going to be a lot of merchandise around it, t-shirts, stickers, and stuff like that. So for those people that weren't able to get the beer, we'll be able to still buy some of the memorabilia around it. But we're really excited about it. He reached out to us, and we have a Big Trouble in Little China beer that we released last year called Six Demon Bag, and that kind of what drew his attention to it. And he's like, hey, the 35th anniversary of Big Trouble in Little China is this year, and you haven't made a beer about me yet. And I was like, you're right. Are you the real him? And if you are, let's see proof. And sure enough, we got something in the mail, autographed stuff in the mail, all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, it's really him. So look for that sometime in July.
Oh, that's only just 2 months away, almost a month and a half.
It's not that far away. We're going to be making a big announcement around it. We're working diligently with the city too to see how we can kind of connect this with Comic Palooza and all that, and see how big we can make this. But it's we're excited about it. We're ready to release, and he's very eager to get it out there on his social media and promote the hell out of it. We wanted him to be here for the release, but because of COVID, his age and things like that, there was a lot of limitations. So there's going to be some fun things that he has sent us, including some video content and things like that, not to mention a bunch of great giveaways. So look for that. We're looking at a slated release for that on July 16th. So Friday, we're going to be it'll be a Friday. We'll be showing Big Trouble in Little China up here, the beer release, some special messages from our guest of honor, and like I said, he sent us a bunch of stuff to give away. So we're going to be giving away a lot of prizes.
Well, I'll be there at Comic Palooza, so hopefully you guys do get to go and work with the city and the Comic Palooza, because that'd be awesome.
Hey man, if it works out in our favor, I had a call with them today. If it works out in our favor, the beer will be sold at the Comic Palooza.
Oh,
so
you know how many people? A lot of people will be just like, let's buy it. Gotta buy it. I don't care. Yeah. Just buy it.
I think in light of all that, it'll hopefully help some of those tourists or people from out of state be able to get their hands on the beer before they go home.
Yeah.
You get a lot of travel, and I'm assuming that the fan base around Comic Palooza is probably similar to the ones emailing us right now wanting it. So I'm hoping to get behind that and making sure that anybody coming into town for that event knows that beer will be available, whether it be here to pick up and buy, or hopefully we'll have it on sale at Comic Palooza. That's just big pipe dreams, but we're trying.
You never know. I mean, it could happen. What was I was going to ask you something else. I know, like, was it the LA scene? I'm not going to ask you, but I was going to tell you, I know, like, the LA scene, they're craft beers, they're a lot. Like I said, I have a friend of mine. His name is Steven. Shout out to Mega Man.
What's up, Mega Man?
He has literally, I'm probably exaggerating, but your back wall, he has like a whole just wall of beers that he works with other breweries. He's friends. He works with the craft beer community in LA and Long Beach and all that. And they just give him free beers. And he just has so many beers where he has to literally give them away because it's taking up space in his apartment.
Right.
So I'm like, that's crazy. But yeah, shout out to Mega Man. You know, I've had him on the show. He's really cool. He's thinking of coming to Texas because he wants to do a podcast invasion. And he wants to start all the way from Fort Worth, I think, and then go to Dallas, and then go to San Antonio, and then Austin, and Houston. And I told him, hey, let me know if you ever come into town. I'll take you to some of the best breweries you've ever gone to here in Houston. You know, I'll take him to, of course, St. Arnold's, Eureka, Eighth Wonder, some of the ones out there, you know, and stuff like that. Because it's like everything is so different, and everybody's tastes so different. So it's like, I know his palate will probably just go crazy because it's like, you know, LA. I feel like LA is just one thing, but Houston, we're just everything and everything. Oh
yeah, man. I mean, I think we were talking about this earlier off air, like how many breweries this city alone has, and reaching statuses of like Denver, Colorado, where, you know, per capita has so many breweries that, you know, you literally can walk out a door and go right back into another brewery. And I feel like Houston is well on the heels of that. There's just new ones popping up every day. There's another one that I just saw a sign for right there on I-10 called Russo's Brewing Company. It's literally just a sign out there right now, but I mean, building it from scratch. So just there's no stopping this train of, you know, craft beer and I think too what you're seeing a lot of evolving into the seltzer world too. And to be really fair, the seltzers are a way to still stay relevant in this scene. If you notice, if you go to your grocery store now, there's more cooler space stocked with seltzers than there are beer, and it eats into the space that we're able to put our product on those shelves. And so the only way to really kind of conform to that is to make a seltzer. And so we regain some of our shelf space back, and I don't think the seltzers are going away. I think they're going to be here for a long, long time. And the amount of real estate that they're being given on store shelves just shows me that it's going to be crazy. But no, man, it's just so much going on around here.
So how did you guys start with the seltzers? Did you just kind of realize like, hey, everyone else is doing it, let's try it and see how it goes? Is that how pretty much it went?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, he saw opportunity, and we had to either not take it or take it. And I think it's I want to say sore or sour subject, but it's a subject in the craft beer scene. There's a lot of, you know, breweries that are like, I ain't touching seltzers, and there's breweries that like, we gotta do it. Like, and in the same vein as us, I mean, we got to do it for shelf space, because if we don't have a product to put there, then we just lose another spot. And the more you lose, the less you're relevant, and then sales just start to plummet. So, you know, we had to make a strategic decision to whether or not we were going to go do seltzers or not. And so we kind of, you know, obviously talked around the community, and we're like, are you doing seltzers? Or, you know, and we kind of got the vibe from some of the breweries that are kind of within our level or just above us. They're like, yeah, we got to, because it's, you know, it's becoming a thing, and it doesn't look like it's going anywhere. It's not Smirnoff Ice, you know. It's like, but you know, we weren't going to make some, you know, malt liquor sweet stuff, but there was a demand for it, man. And so we took a crack at it, and it took us over about a year to develop our flavors and how to make seltzers. It's a very different process than making beer. It requires us using different tanks for that. And so there's just, it's a delicate new stage that we weren't privy to. It took us a long time to figure out how to make them taste good. And not going to lie, the first few months of tasting and trialing these things were terrible, and tastes like rubbing alcohol mixed with sweetener. And it's just like, this doesn't work. And as we developed it over time and refined it, we're able to find ways to make it a little bit better. And then obviously the flavor was a key component. And then we were crossed with the idea of using fresh fruit or fruit extract, and we learned very quickly the fresh fruit is a little harder to manage, especially in a can. There could be fermentation that continues to still happen there, not to mention the flavor profiles may not be as strong in certain fruits. Peach, for example, is very subtle, smells beautiful, it has a great flavor, but when you try to reduce it down into a beverage, it doesn't really come through very nice, and so it comes out kind of sour, kind of not peachy at all. And so after a few runs of trying to do things with fresh fruit, we decided, maybe the extracts are the way to go. And we started doing experiments with extracts and different flavors, and finally started finding balances that really worked very well with what we were trying to create. And I think what you're going to see now across a lot of the craft breweries that have decided to venture into the seltzer game, that all of our seltzers are very different. You try them where our flavors are not just the flavors, but just the way the seltzers are made are different from St. Arnold, or different from Carbox Ranch Water, or all that. So you're getting different varieties. It's not going to be like, it's the same strawberry or peach seltzer that everybody has. It tastes a little bit different. It's made a little bit different, and you can kind of see the difference. And I think, up to everybody's decision on which one they like better. And we've done a lot of trial and error with these things, but we're pretty proud of what we've created.
Yeah, I'm going to have to try one of those seltzers, because like I said, I notice everyone's doing the seltzer game, and I know maybe like 2-3 years ago everybody was in the cider game. That's kind of like the trend, I guess. Can you predict like what the next trend is going to be for craft beers, stuff like that? Man, I kind of think that this trend of cocktail beers are going to become a thing. We're already seeing the trend of bars and restaurants looking and asking us for cocktail recipes around seltzers and beer. As you know, we talked about earlier, there's so many different flavors now that are out there in the beer world that really lend themselves to that. And St. Arnold, I think, was the first one out of the gate really to actually put out a beer that is cocktail driven and kind of sold as an old fashioned. And it's great. And I think that as time goes on, we're going to start seeing more of that. I think we've already talked about kind of looking at our seltzer lines and trying to do like a pina colada or like a margarita or something of that nature, where it takes on that flavor profile. You can mix it with something. You don't have to mix it with something. It kind of just tastes good on its own. But if I had to guess, outside of just IPA crazes, and right now, if you're a beer fan, hazies all the way. Anytime we release a hazy, it's a line of people. And if you're a seltzer drinker, I think it's kind of getting more into how creative you're going to get with that seltzer without making it taste terrible. I think there's definitely a fine line of like overdoing it. And I think we saw that in the process of making these things too, of like, what flavors or mixing flavors and stuff like that. So you can't just go crazy with these things without them tasting a little funny, but it's a delicate process. But I definitely think that you're going to start seeing more of that kind of like, I think you see it now already with canned cocktails and stuff like that. So I think the craft beer scene, seltzer game, all that stuff like that's going to kind of start gearing in that direction. I don't know how severe, but I think you're going to start seeing more of it. That sounds pretty interesting. So we better strap up and get ready for cocktail beers.
Yeah, man. I'm waiting for that White Russian.
The dude. Pretty much a dude.
I think somebody's already claimed that name, but whatever. We can call it the dude with like 4 U's.
It could be some Russian name or something like that. You never know. But yeah, that's pretty interesting to see. The craft beer always, like you said, evolving and trying out new things and trying out new flavors and stuff like that. So that's really awesome. Not a lot of common folk or the regular people think about stuff like this, but some people are like, I want to see what they're doing and stuff like that.
Right. No, man, I'm excited to kind of like, there's some stuff that I'm sure I'm not even thinking about that are going to come down the pipe. Hell, at one point there was beer popsicles. Oh wow! They're short-lived, but it was there. It was there for a second. So who knows what's going to come next down the pipe? But I definitely hope for the sake of, and just because the sheer enjoyment that I have, that these more like cocktail-driven beers kind of start to come out. You see a lot of them that are barrel-aged, which is going to be nice and 12, 13%ers. So definitely drinks like a cocktail for sure. You need one of those things to kind of start making beer shots. I think that might be a thing too.
Beer shots? Wow.
Yeah, high alcohol beer shots. We have a few beers downstairs that we don't typically drink by the glass. We just put them in a shot glass and just knock them back.
I can kind of picture that already. Just going to a bar and just like, give me that with the shot, and just boop. Yeah, I can. Wow, that's something you never really thought of.
Yeah, man. Like I said, there's always inventing, always things going on. So I'm like I said, I'm still very curious just to see what's going to come down the pipe too.
Always moving forward.
Yep.
Okay, so I know we were talking earlier about your process of when you come up with a beer and trademarking names and stuff like that, do you have any names that you can share with me of beers that you wanted to name, but this was like, kind of like, let's put this on the back burner?
Oh, hell, man. I got one in particular that I can tell you has changed names almost 3 times. Because of its references to Matt Groening TV shows. So Simpsons, Family Guy references, Futurama references. We got caught a couple of times in that. So the most recent one, we had a beer come out early on here called Chop Shop. And Chop Shop was an ode to another beer here in Houston that our brewer created at a certain brewery. And first beer, or one of the first beers he did, was Chop Shop, and it was an iteration of one of his last beers at St. Arnold. And it was for fun, and we worked with St. Arnold on that, and they knew we were doing it. But that beer evolved. We obviously couldn't call it that name anymore, and we had to take the St. Arnold reference off of it. And so it changed names, and in the last iteration of it, it was called Thunder Cougar Falcon Bird, and that was a reference from Futurama. It was a car that was in that show called the Thunder Cougar Falcon Bird, and so we called it that, and we put it out for release, and lo and behold, here comes the cease and desist.
Oh, wow.
And so I want to say it was Disney. Whoever owns Matt Groening's estate stuff now, like I can't remember who, like he's not dead or anything, but I think Disney owns the rights to pretty much all Simpsons, anything he does. I don't know who we got the cease and desist from, honestly. It'd be cool if it was Disney. But we had to change the name of that, currently in development, and trying to figure out what that's going to be called this time around.
Oh, wow.
Like I said, it's changed. If I, for the life of me, can't remember the other versions of that name, but it's been caught numerous times. We also have, it's funny, we have a beer called Holly Jolly Jorts we do for Christmas every year. It's a snickerdoodle style golden ale. And we got, I think Santa Claus sent us a cease and desist saying we can't use Holly Jolly.
Really? Santa Claus?
I don't know if it was Santa Claus or not, but it might as well have been. Whoever is in charge of Christmas said, hey, you can't use Holly Jolly. And I'm like, what? Like, well, it's a song, well, okay, but why? It's not even, what about Jolly Jordan? Nope, can't do Jolly either. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So now we're having to rename our Christmas beer to something else that's not trademarked by Santa.
You would think it would be like in the public domain, but I guess not.
You never know, man. As we find, like I said, going right back to Neon Moon, man. I don't know how we got that trademark, but sometimes we win, sometimes we lose on those things.
That's pretty cool. Like with my name, I need to trademark my name inside the North Side because I'm constantly just going online. I'm like, please nobody has my name. Please, nobody have my name. And because I don't want to change it. I just came up with it, at a random, when I started the podcasting game. I was trying to figure out something that was catchy, and I was like, no, that's dumb. I don't even remember any of the names. So, me being from Houston, from the north side of downtown, I was like, inside the North Side. And I was like, okay, I liked it. It sounded kind of awkward for the first couple episodes when I started. But, I mean, now I love the name. I've not trademarked it yet, but I bought, I made stickers and stuff like that, which I do have some merch for you, after the end of our episode. But, like I said, I need to trademark my name because I think they would, I don't want to keep it. I don't want to lose it.
No, man, I get it. And you don't want to also have to relinquish all the stuff you put that name on too, because that sometimes comes into play, or if you've made money off of it or something like that, sometimes when people want cuts of it. So, yeah, make sure to do that.
Yeah.
We, like I said, learn from our mistakes. It happens all the time, too. I'm like, we're not the first brewery that had, come up with a name that was unoriginal or has trademarked or something like that we haven't, they didn't hear about it. It happens all the time here. So, yeah, it's name of the game, man. But, yeah, I would highly recommend getting that trademark sooner than later.
Yeah, I want to trademark inside the North Side, inside the South Side. There's a joke with everybody I meet. They're like, oh, what's the name of your podcast? And I'm like, oh, it's Inside the North Side. And they're like, oh, okay, well, I'm going to come up with a podcast called Inside the South Side. And I think of the joke as like, oh, well, I already own that. So, yeah, time to pay up.
Yeah, I once had a social media channel that when I thought I was going to be an influencer, and called In the Loop. And I thought it was clever, and nobody else did.
That is pretty cool, though. I mean, only Houstonians would know in the within the loop and stuff like that.
But you're stay in the loop within the loop. I mean, I thought it was fun. Nobody cared. Also, I don't know how to influence. So,
well, you kind of do now with these beers. You're kind of influencing somewhat.
Somewhat, but not like the way the kids are doing it these days.
I cannot keep up, dude. I'm like 28, and like I'm on. I'll watch TikTok and Instagram, and I'm like, how do these kids do this? They have so much time on their hands.
They made it into a job,
and they get paid more.
More than I can ever imagine. But I don't have the good looks to make that happen for me. So I'm just gonna stick to my behind the desk job.
Hey, I mean, as long as maybe some of these TikTokers drink a beer and show it off, maybe you might.
Hey, we're working on it. We got some influencers. Send them our way, man. We're working on trying to get in their presence for sure.
Yeah, I tried being an influencer. I was like, my girlfriend, she's like, she has a vlog and she works with people, and she's also a photographer as well. So she's like, I'm an influencer, and I'm like, okay, yeah, you're an influencer.
How many followers do you have?
I have personally, let me check and see, because I have to.
I have 354.
On my podcast one, which we'll pretty much check.
We're vetting him right now to see if he's going to be an influencer.
I have... Oh, come on now. Doesn't want to show. I have 1,609 followers.
That's more than me. I say that's influential.
Ooh, maybe. Yeah. And mainly just a lot of podcasters and friends and stuff like that. But,
you got this podcast, which also, broadcasts out there to the world. So, this is influencing.
Somewhat. Oh, well, maybe.
Yeah, man. This is an influencer channel, I think. TikTok, podcast, Facebook, Instagram. It's all getting the message out there, getting your brand out there.
Pretty much. That's all with Instagram, that's my main thing. I'm trying to push out as much content as I can. I try to go live. I try to get special guests. Like my guest for tomorrow's episode, which I pre-recorded, his name is Sivani Quintanilla, and he is the nephew of Selena.
No kidding.
Yes. So, and he's a DJ, he's a music producer, and all this stuff out of Corpus Christi. So it was pretty awesome that I got the opportunity to sit down with him virtually and have him on the podcast and talk like that. So
that's very cool, man.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm trying to get with all these, people and stuff like that. So
is that the closest you've ever been to Selena?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never. That's pretty awesome. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited. He's a very humble guy. He's really just low, down to earth. You would think that it would get to his head. When everybody's like, "Oh, I'm the so and so celebrity, so and so," it would get to their head. But no, he's very humble, really nice guy. And his dad too as well, and stuff like that. They're just very humble people.
Very cool. It's surprising to you, huh?
It is. I was like, oh my god, you responded to my Instagram.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't know how this was gonna go. Like meeting you, you're such a big influencer, and you got this podcast, and I always get nervous when I do podcasts, but you made me feel very comfortable today.
Well, that's all I try to do. Whenever I have guests, I try to make them feel as comfortable as they can. Hey, what can you do this? Hey, what time is good for you? I work with people. I don't want to be, my girlfriend tells me I'm kind of a pushover sometimes. But no, it's like, hey, look, if I want people to remember me and my podcast. So whenever I'm like, hey, do you want to do the podcast? And yeah, for sure, And it's not like they have a bad experience the first time, I
mean, I'm here to tell you up front, anybody else that wants to come on and be a guest, I'm doing this again. Whenever you want me back, I'm coming back.
Yeah, for sure. You're always welcome on the podcast,
Because I thoroughly enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun.
So has this been your first podcast that you've done?
It's not my first podcast, although it's been the easiest. I don't ever know what I'm going to get into, honestly. And so sometimes I can't answer the questions to the fullest potential, or I sound stupid, or I just get caught off guard. But this one, man, I'm telling you, it's been a lot of fun. It's been really easy just to have a back and forth conversation. So props to this one.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Like I said, I just try to make it easy for people. I don't really want to ask hard questions. I don't really ask difficult questions like, can you tell me, the science behind this and that, and you work at Walmart and something. It doesn't correlate. It doesn't go well with each other.
Of price dropping.
I can kind of tell you that. I used to work at Target. So.
I did too, man. I did too. I stocked shelves overnight for a year at Target.
Oh man, I was a cart attendant, and then I was a cashier, and then I went to customer service, and then ultimately I stayed at Starbucks. I was a barista for a good couple years.
I hear good and bad things about being a barista.
Yeah, it's a fun game. It's fun, you get to sit there and make concoctions and stuff like that, and make, you follow the recipe of how to make certain Starbucks drinks, but you do get those people once in a while that want like 8 frappuccinos and they want them different flavors and they want to add extra things and and stuff like that, and it's like, oh, okay, I only have a limited amount of time to make these, so bear with me. And then you have the sticklers and the Karens and stuff like that. Sometimes they're like, oh, this wasn't made right, and it's like, oh, I apologize, and you try to make it right and it still doesn't satisfy them and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, I enjoyed being a barista, but sometimes it can come down to the wire and be very stressful.
I hear you, man. No, I mean, it's the same thing about being a bartender. I feel like it's probably cross paths pretty easily. You deal with the customers. They always want difficult things. Well, in our case, it's not so hard because we're just pouring beer. But you're making cocktails and stuff. I'm sure it's in the same realm, right?
Yeah.
You make that wrong. I wanted something new. Like, just that's customer mentality, man.
And me, I'm pretty simple. When I go up to the bar, if I go to like Barbarella or anywhere else, I'm like, hey, just give me a Jack and Coke. Yeah. Or hey, give me a Dos Equis. Right. And it's very simple. I don't want to make them work any harder than they should. It's like, just give me something simple. I like, hey, there you go.
Yeah, no, I hear you, man. No, I'd rather do that too. I don't want anything crazy. I just want something with like bourbon or whiskey and maybe something to cut it a little bit. But other than that, sometimes I'm just bourbon or whiskey guy.
Yeah, I'm not like some people that I do know where they're like, I want an ounce of whiskey with triple sec and this flavor, and I'm like, come on. He's like, dude, we're just here at the bar ordering. Just get
somewhere else.
There's certain bars. There's a bar on Main Street. It's very small. I forget. It's like the Secret Garden or something like that. I forgot the name.
Oh, Main Street downtown.
Yeah, Main Street downtown.
It's the Secret Garden. I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
And I've been in there, and it's a very small place, and I was like, okay, this is where you can order those kind of concoction drinks.
They pretty much lean into that pretty hard. I feel like they've got a list of like 10 cocktails that they only make there, and you're like, here, this is what you get. And then but they're all like 15 ingredients, and they're delicious. There's nothing wrong with them, but you can watch that guy make those things for like 10 minutes. Like the lines, all the way the back to the building, or in their case, the back of the patio. But you get your drink and it's colorful and beautiful and tastes delicious, and I can't complain about it. But
exactly.
I just wish, like sometimes like a drink that takes like 5 seconds to make. And
it's just like, gone. There you go, pour.
Yes, sir.
Well, Evan, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast, representing Eureka, and just having a good time on here. Like I said, I'm very glad that you had a good time, and it's very easy for you, just comfortable, No,
the pleasure's all mine, man. We really appreciate you guys reaching out to us and wanting to do this. Like we love attention. I'm not gonna lie, and we love podcasts. So it's fun. I'm not a very photogenic or camera friendly person, so these things work really well for me.
Exactly, I'm the same. But I started a YouTube channel, so I have to be.
You dug yourself a hole, buddy.
I had so many people just like, when are you going to make a YouTube? When are you going to make a YouTube? So I did. I started this season, and it was pretty successful. And then after a while, I got kind of burnt out a little bit.
Yeah.
When you do these things, you're just like, oh man, I gotta take a break. So I haven't really been doing videos lately, but I think maybe as soon as next month I'll start doing it again. Because next month it's my last a couple episodes for this season, and then I take a break.
Okay.
But then, during the summer, I'm going to be doing other episodes with other people for next season. But, I'm going to start doing it video sooner or later. So, but cool. Like I said, I had to be video photogenic and stuff like that,
I get it, man. I get it. No, I have to do a few of those too here and there, but I'd rather prefer this. So thank you for being here today. Thank you for letting us kind of take over your podcast and
no problem. Like I said, appreciate you spending the time here with me. Before we go, let our listeners know where they can find your beer, where they can find your social media, and just everything else that they need to know.
Sure, man. Beer, still very local. You get it here in Houston, surrounding Houston areas. Now, like I said, Galveston, Gulf Coast area out there as well. Obviously, the tap room, we're open Wednesday through Sunday. bunch of events going on here. Bingo's on Thursday, trivia's on Wednesday night, beer releases are usually on Wednesdays. So if you're looking for something new, Wednesdays are going to be your day. But come visit us anytime. We're always here. As far as following us on social media, pretty much anything at Eureka Heights on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. I don't think we have a TikTok, but I'm sure we'll get one. So look for us on social media. You can catch up with any of our new beer releases that way. We also have a newsletter too. If you'd like to sign up for that, you can do that through our website, eurekaheights.com. But other than that, just keep up with us. Find out what fun stuff we're doing. Beer releases, events, shenanigans, all the good stuff. So we're always a lively bunch, fun bunch, and so we love to see people come out and see us when you're ready.
Well, like I said, Evan, thank you again for being on the podcast. Shout out to all you guys at Eureka. You guys have been great. As I always say, God bless and peace, guys. This has been Inside the North Side. Check out all my episodes. Leave me an Apple review, and I'll see you guys next time.